I see Dr. Shaw there from the Jane Center.
Hey, how are you?
All right, we'll go. Good evening, everyone. We'll go and get started. The governing board was called to order at 5:00 p.m. Can we all stand for the flag salute? Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Let it be noted that all members present except for Ms. Castaneda. Moving on to the approval of agenda.
President Chung, so there is no business scheduled for this evening for closed session. So I'd like to note that the board may move to strike closed session from the agenda if you wish.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting, striking closed session?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. Second by Mr. Frutos. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Approval of minutes, approval of the September 13th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
A motion.
Thank you, Ms. Shed.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. Oh, I'm sorry. Jerry, Mr. Frutos had to abstain. So, once everyone, aye. Motion passes 3-0-1.
0-1.
I got nervous, all these people in here today. Hearing session. The audience members may request to address the board on an item on or off the agenda per board bylaw 9323. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the governing board on each agenda or non-agenda item. Citizens are asked to keep their written comments to 250 words or less so that they may be read within 3 minutes. The board limits the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. The total time allowed for public comment shall be 30 minutes. Dr. Miramontes?
Yeah, we have one public comment for tonight, and Mrs. Sari Wong, our Director of Educational Programs, will read it out loud.
Good evening, Board President Mr. Chung, members of the Governing Board, Superintendent Dr. Miramontes, Cabinet members, and guests. The following is a public comment submitted for your consideration and will be read exactly as written. Comments provided by Jody Wackerman, topic discussing PE. Dear board members, I am disappointed in both middle schools' inability to honor our BPTA contract regarding the 240 student PE cap and the inability to fix the overage in the contract allowed time. I'm also questioning the timing of creating large class sizes during COVID. Since I have worked at BPJH, we have always had 5 PE teachers as long as our student enrollment was around 1,000 students. The first year that we went down to 4 PE teachers was in 2019-2020 when our enrollment dropped. Now that we have 2 middle schools with one of them servicing 6th graders in the PE numbers, it seems obvious that we needed more PE teachers at the middle schools. There are over 1,100 students in PE classes between the 2 middle schools and only 4 PE teachers. At BPMS, we started the year with a total of 70 students over the PE cap. This overage unnecessarily caused extremely large PE classes for the first month of school. The contract states that the school has until the second Friday after Labor Day to fix any overage. This did occur at BPMS on September 16th by creating 2 more PE periods. And I do give grace to the new principal who walked into a mess of a master schedule. Beatty started off with 1 extra section of PE as they had an obvious overage due to the 6th graders joining the PE program. Beatty also created an elective PE science class, which did not help alleviate the overage in PE. Even with 1 extra section of PE, they were over the cap by 59 students. This also unnecessarily caused large PE classes mixed with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders all in 1 class. This overage was not fixed by September 17th as the contract states. I know they're working on a solution at this time. However, this should have been addressed in a timely manner according to our contract. I'm also questioning the decision to include 6th grade students in the same PE class as 7th and 8th grade students. Is this really in the best interest of students? Though I am disappointed in the decisions of our schools and district, I will continue to pray for wisdom and guidance for our leadership. I remain hopeful that with transparency and better communication, we can all work together to make this a great place to be for our students and teachers. I'm confident that our board members will continue looking out for the best interests of students, and I'm asking for your continued support in maintaining the PE cap in the contract that was negotiated by the district less than 5 years ago. As a parent, I would be happy to know that my school district kept the PE class sizes as a safe, low number. Thank you for your time and consideration. Jody Wackerman, BPMS PE teacher, and a confirmation email was provided. This concludes public comments for tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Wong. Thank you.
Thank you. Going into governing board comments, Ms. Shed, we'll start with you tonight.
Well, I am looking forward to our events tonight at the board meeting. And I have had I actually just got home about 5 minutes ago. I was with them out with my family for the weekend, and I'm just excited to be here and hear the reports for tonight. Thank you.
Ms. Ahmad.
Thank you. I'm gonna remove this just for comments, so I don't have the Charlie Brown. Wow, 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 wow. First of all, I wanted to welcome our guests. It's so nice seeing guests here. It's been more than a year and a half, so it's great having our board meetings open and well, not completely open, but it's just so nice seeing some familiar faces. So welcome. As for me, I was able to tour a lot of our schools the past 2 weeks. I enjoyed seeing Emory School. We were able to look into the 5th grade math classes and how, you know, the intervention is working there. And it was just great to see. We were also able to see the Buena Park Learning Center that day with Ms. Beckelheimer, gave us a tour and see all the little ones. That was exciting. I was also able to visit Buena Park Middle School. We were able to tour the choir class, which was so fun because it's the first time we see our new building with students in it, and they were singing and they weren't shy. And, you know, the music teacher was just amazing. You know, he had them all engaged in the lesson. That was great to see. And of course, I loved seeing our horticulture class, which I was surprised to know that we had 3 classes this year.
Yeah.
So that's getting a popular, that's a popular class these days. And then we also toured all the math classes. So that was great to see. All the kids were engaged. They were all really focused. The classrooms looked great. They smelled great, which is amazing for middle schools. It was just so nice to be able to go into the classrooms since we haven't been for a while. We were supposed to go to Corey Elementary, but that one was canceled. But hopefully soon we can get to all the schools because that's, you know, really what I love doing. My next item, I'll leave it for Dr.
Absolutely.
Miramontes to talk about. And I just wanted to end with, I wanted to send my deep condolences to Sam Hamlin's family, who was a board member on our board for many years, I believe 15 years, and a volunteer in our schools. You know, when we got the news, it was very heartbreaking because all I know about the board is from Sam, and he was such a great mentor. And I'm going to try to do this without tearing up, but I learned a lot of lessons from him, and I'm deeply saddened by his passing. And I'd like to see if we could commemorate him in some way in our district, just for all his years of service and volunteering in our schools, and hopefully something that his family would appreciate. That's it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Firdaus.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see everybody here in person. I know it's been a while. I was out last meeting, but it's good to be back today. I just want to start off by saying it's been a busy month for myself. I had an opportunity to visit some of the schools, especially the middle school, Buena Park Middle School. And I appreciated seeing all hands on deck, seeing all the staff members trying to help out with lunch there. I saw Ms. Cantu, Mr. Harrison, our nutrition department out there working, you know, supervising the students. And sometimes it's not easy to do, but I do appreciate everybody's effort trying to help out with lunches there, helping out Mr. Park. Also had the opportunity to join the back to school night at Emory. I joined Mr. Kim's back to school night, Ms. Busan's over at Whitaker, and also Pendleton School. So it was good to see a variety of different back to school nights because that set the tone for the rest of the school year for a lot of the families and our students. So I appreciate all their hard work they're doing at their sites. Also had an opportunity to join the Boys and Girls Club on September 11th. I think that's been one of the best events I've participated in this year, because I was amongst a lot of great organizations that contribute to our city and our community. So I want to say thank you for putting that together, because it's good to represent the Buena Park School District out there and hear all the high praise and everything that we do in the collaboration that we bring to your organizations and you guys bring to ours. So I really appreciate everything everybody has done for our district that was there, and everybody else that I run into around the city. So thank you very much. I also want to thank our Buena Park Police Department. We had an unfortunate incident. They were there to respond and take care of the situation. Don't want to talk about it too much because it's already been handled, but I do want to appreciate everything that you guys did and our superintendent for the actions that he took to make sure that everybody was safe within his near surroundings. So thank you very much for that. And then lastly, I do want to thank our nutrition department for being the second large, for being recognized for the second largest distribution amongst school districts, right behind LA County. That's a big milestone. For a small district of our caliber to be amongst second largest to distribute food, that says a lot. I mean, that means we're doing a lot of good things. And I know what it feels like to help out and distribute that food, because I helped out, or I stood in line to get a meal for my daughters and saw how much work we went into providing those meals. So thank you for that. Other than that, I look forward to today's presentation. And that concludes my report.
Among what everyone has shared, I also like to extend a welcome to our friends. I think a strong community builds strong schools, and I think it's very evident in our city that we have that. Faced with all the people here today, I can see what they've been involved in, and it's going to be great to continue to create those partnerships and to be just thankful. I thank our staff for reaching out and creating those connections, and I ask that we continue to build those partnerships so that we can continue to have a lot of resources and a lot of ways to support our students and our families. So we thank you for that. I had a meeting in the Coatzin Foundation, and I was really great to hear the amazing things that our school district is doing. The director was telling me that our district has been doing great things with writers, readers, and just the instruction that they're seeing is really top notch. And so that's a very high honor from an organization that is really involved in teaching and learning. And so to say that our district, again, like we always say, small but mighty, is out there and is evident in the educational world as well. So kudos to our teachers, our staffs, and our admins. I don't want to thank you that it's week 6, but it feels like 6 months, like what we say. And so if those of you don't realize, like our schools, we're working so hard, it feels like we're running on 6 months of energy on these just 6 weeks, but could keep up the energy. I hope everyone gets to recharge and keep going. And I think our next holiday we have to look forward to is Labor Day. Veterans Day. See, I'm already backwards. Veterans Day. So countdown. I always look forward to one thing. It's 6 weeks away. So anyways, thank you for everyone being here, and Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, so I'd like to start off first by just before the meeting started, Supervisor Chafee's office came out and presented an award to one of our board members. Thara Ahmad is one of 5 board members being recognized in the county. As you may not be aware, but August is Muslim American Month, and she was selected as the representative from District 4. So congratulations, Ms. Ahmad, and this is a huge tribute to you and the work that you do for all students. You know, and so thank you for doing that. That was a surprise to all of us. We just keep, I mean, more and more awards for Buena Park, so congratulations.
Thank you.
But honestly, it's the great work that we do here as a governance team and as a community together. As we head into fall, just a couple things I want to make sure we point out to parents. First, I am a parent, I am a leader. Workshops continue. I saw Mrs. Shed on there last week, so she participated with that. Those workshops are going to continue for our parents through November 17th. They're from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. I encourage you to be a part of that. Also, parent-teacher conferences are scheduled for October 7th and 8th. So that's a great opportunity for our parents and our teachers and our staff members to work together, collaborate, and really, it's really a dipstick for us. And for many families, it's the first time that they've actually had an opportunity in the last 15 months to really sit down and say, how is school going for our students in person? I too had the opportunity this past week to visit schools, including Whitaker School and Buena Park Middle School. Both schools continued supporting students both academically and socially. I want to thank board member Mr. Ahmad for joining me at Buena Park Middle School, Mr. Shin Park, principal there, for showing us around, guiding us through. We actually did see the PE classrooms along with the choir. You're absolutely right about the choir teacher. It was amazing for students that have never been taught how to sing, from the hum sing, and they were excited about it. And they were doing it with their masks on. It was quite the nice thing. We'll invite you out to our ribbon cutting ceremony. We just built the new Performing Arts Center there, a Performing Arts building there this last year. We haven't had the ribbon cutting yet, but we are planning to do so. And I really appreciate the graciousness shown to our students who haven't been in school for 15 months, who don't have the structure that many people do. I know Dr. Ken too works with one of our consultants, Dr. Cruz, and he talks about kids being on first, second, and third base. Right? Some of our kids already show up being on third base. Their families are set. They know exactly what college they're going to go to, USC. They're ready, all set up, right? And other kids step up to the plate and don't have those opportunities. But I want to thank our staffs, our teachers, our classified staff members, everybody out there that works super hard for this community. We're going to get them. We're going to get them all the way home. And it's all our responsibilities. And this is one of the things that I'm excited about tonight. So we started talking about whether this is going to be the Fabulous Five, because tonight we're going to recognize 5 community stakeholders. I actually want to call it the Super's Choice Awards, but I was voted out. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. But again, I'm excited about the partners within the community, because it really has to be a community effort. We have to work together. And you have made an impact on our district. You may think it's a small thing, but it's a big thing to all of us. Tonight, we learn about the impact. We'll learn about the impact that you guys have had on our students and our community. And I just want to thank you on behalf of our board and our community members. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Then let's go into it. Programs report, recognition of community partners.
Yes, we've got a recognition of community partners today, and we'll have readers come up and we'll read, we'll take some pictures together, and we'll have the board join me up in front. So first up is
the Buena Park Police Department. Would you like to join them? So we'd like to extend our gratitude and appreciation for the support, guidance, and leadership that Buena Park Police Department has provided us since Dr. Miramontes became superintendent 3 years ago. The partnership and ongoing collaboration has brought our 2 agencies within the same community, but in different capacities, a sense of unity for those we serve. Our parents and staff see how well we communicate and collaborate. We know that we can count on Chief Sainez, Captain Nunez, and the Buena Park police officers for their continued service and support. Most importantly, our students see the true benefit of this valued partnership.
Just want to say a couple words. I do. This chief, I know you recently had a what really boils down to is the safety of our community and the safety of your students and the safety of your employees and the public as well. So thank you for your cooperation. Thank you for working with us through that terrible, tragic event. And as it turns out, I hope the student, I hope the bus driver and all those involved are doing good. And I'm sure you provided them the resources that they needed, as we provided the resources to our people that were involved as well. But I really appreciate this partnership. Dr. Miramontes, and you and I have known each other for quite a long time now. And our partnership just continues to get stronger and stronger. And, you know, working with our school districts and making sure that the kids are getting what they need is really important to us as well. And, you know, we have a stake in it as well, right? We don't want them to eventually become criminals when they get older. So, you know, making sure they get making sure they get a good education and going down that right path is important to us. So, you know, as a police chief and on behalf of Captain Nunes and the Buena Park Police Department, thank you for this recognition. The officers were just saying that would say that they were just doing their job, but that's part of their job, and we appreciate all that they do. So, thank you.
This time we'd like to recognize Buena Park's Boys and Girls Club. Todd and Luz, if you can join Dr. Miramontes and our board members up there. These past 15 months have been incredibly challenging for the students and families within Buena Park due to the pandemic. Staff noticed that some of our students didn't have the support systems at home and began falling behind. For some students during the beginning of our distance learning program, they were online in their cars with their parents in our school parking lots, while a few who were homeless were in their motels. So we took a trip to the Boys and Girls Club of Buena Park to see if they could partner with the district to be available for up to 100 students with the greatest need. Parents, teachers, and administrators saw an immediate change from students in the program. The Boys and Girls Club greatly helped provide the necessary support systems for our students to be successful. We visited the facility numerous times, and we always walked out feeling happy for our students, knowing that they were in the right place. Todd and Luz, thank you both for your leadership and ongoing support, a partnership we cherish for sure. Thank you.
Well, thanks. And thank you, everyone. I think what's really telling is the people in this room, from Simpson to the police department to the school district, just how that has expanded the circle of service to our community. To touch on what Chief said, we're providing hopefully a better product, which is the kids, which is better citizens, through the partnership with the district, through our partnership with the police department and community supporters. So we had one quick story I wanted to share that kind of gives an example. Dr. Simonoski, we would be remiss if we didn't thank you personally, because you guys, it's like a circus. Those 15 months, it was just like there was no blueprint for this. It was just insanity. And getting the meals served to the kids, let alone the resources. We had fruit brought in, and we had these teen girls that were eating like 7 or 8 oranges. And we were kind of like, hey, knock it off, don't waste food. And then we realized, oh, they're not wasting food. And the girl ended up telling Luz, we don't ever have fruit in my house. And she's one of 6, and this is just so good. And that was just one simple example that no one gets to see, the behind the scenes. And that was a simple, we all have fruit at our house probably going bad right now per se. And this girl is just this is the best day ever because we're getting oranges. So that was pretty telling, let alone the educational component. And I think we had over 850 missing assignments when we started. And by the graduation, we had under 100. No, so yes, I would go back. That would probably be more, but the work that staff has done and our partnerships, you guys, these are the kids that fall through the cracks, and we help fill those cracks. So thank you guys for your partnership, and thank you for what you do and your commitment. And Jerry, it's been a pleasure working with you in that. So thank you guys.
Now I'd like to invite Tracy Breyers, representing St. Jude Medical Center. Tracy Breyers and the St. Jude Medical Center have been long-standing advocates for the students and families of Buena Park. This advocacy for the wellness of our students was instrumental and a key reason our students enjoyed distance learning. Because of the training provided in prior years, our students were still able to exercise their bodies and move during the pandemic. Lessons taught by teachers in conjunction with our wellness TOSA provided students and parents the outlet so many students needed. They were moving even in their homes during the pandemic. We value the data and knowledge that we've collected over the years, and because of that, we have provided and hired elementary PE teachers and PE aides to ensure that all students' wellness is at the top of our priorities. Thank you, St. Jude Medical Center and Tracy Breyers, for your leadership.
Well, I just want to thank you for this honor and to be in this room with I don't know what you're calling the fabulous five. I don't know. But it really did take a village to get through this I would say we're still kind of in it, but I'd say the last 15 to 18 months. So I am, representing St. Jude, we were really very happy to help provide the school district with activities, physical activities, virtual, and support to the school district to keep the kids moving, because we know that really health and wellness is so important. Providing that nutrition and that physical activity helps with the mental health, and then also just academic achievement. So I'm very honored to be in this room, and St. Jude, on behalf of St. Jude, we really appreciate this amazing partnership. Thank you.
Jane Center of Southern California. Our partnership with the Jane Center of Southern California transpired when we received a call from the Jane Center at the beginning of the pandemic regarding their willingness to help families within our community. Specifically providing families with food donations, we immediately informed our parents that there would be an opportunity to receive food donations at the Jane Center. District office administrators worked side by side with an army of volunteers from the Jane Center, distributing food every Sunday for months. A welcomed and much needed opportunity to serve the community and bring lots of joy in a much needed time. Thank you, Dr. Shaw and your team for your amazing leadership. And thank you, Jane Center, for the partnership that has been established because of your great generosity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is Dr. Jay Shah, President of Jane Center. We are honored for being invited to this very important board meeting. And on behalf of Jane Center of Southern California, I thank you for being a good partner. We feel very fortunate that we have such a great active school board, and congratulations and kudos to all of you, those who are doing this wonderful job, including Dr. Miramontes. On personal note, myself and Dr. Nitin Shah, he's also on the Zoom here, and our community members, our vice president and our public relation officer, they are in person present there, and Mr. Mooney, he is there. So on behalf of everyone, I want to say that it was a great experience for all of us. It was an unfortunate situation that we had to go through what we went through, but we were fortunate enough to serve the community. And we will be there whenever we can do whatever we can do to serve the community. Dr. Miramontes has personally witnessed, he was there every Sunday with us when we were distributing food, and even the Chromebooks for the students in the school. It has worked out very well. So I invite you all to come and visit us, and we would like to see you all at our temple. And we will be there for you whenever we can for the community to help out. Please let us know if we can do more, how we can serve community in different capacities. Thank you all, and thanks for inviting us.
Thank you.
We do conduct health fair once every year, and we would like all the community members to take advantage of this free health fair, whoever is really in need for that. So more than welcome for everybody. And again, we would be very happy to serve the community whenever we are needed.
Simpson Buick GMC Buena Park. David and Debbie Simpson, the owners of Simpson Buick GMC of Buena Park, reached out to our district office with an idea of helping students. After a spirited collaborative discussion, we decided to focus on students returning for in-person learning in a way that signifies the start of a school year, shiny new backpacks and supplies. Simpson Buick GMC of Buena Park purchased over 3,000 backpacks and filled them with water bottles and school supplies.
In just one weekend, we passed them out as the families drove through the dealership. The generosity of David and Debbie Simpson was met with cheerful smiles for the dealership staff and school staff alike. We are so appreciative of Simpson Buick GMC of Buena Park for their commitment to the Buena Park community. We often talk about ensuring that students start off the school year in a positive way. And thanks to Debbie and David Simpson, our students had what they needed to start the school off just right, backpacks filled with supplies. On behalf of the families and our district, thank you very much.
Thank you. She's really the one who put it all together, her and her daughter. We had a lot of fun doing that. It was really just a great experience to be able to give back, and what a great community we have here. I had a lot of fun directing traffic. There was one guy who pulled up in the room, maybe in a pink shirt. I says, "We don't have any parking here for you, sir." And he goes, "Well, I'm here to volunteer." I said, "You're driving a Chrysler product. You're not allowed." So, but we had a lot of fun, and thank you very much. So, thank you.
I just have the group Fab Five up here with their one last photo, then call it a day. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Congratulations, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
I'll pass it on. They should all have, you guys all have this in your.
I have it in my drawing.
Okay. Sure you guys have some. Thank you, Raymond. Good.
That was so nice.
That was.
Seeing people.
We'll write up a statement, then we'll submit it to Buena Park Independent. Anybody else wants to pick it up, and we'll put it on our website as well.
Thank you again to our staff. I know you guys made. a lot
Dr.
of
Shaw,
those
Dr. Shaw, thanks once again. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We are happy to have such a good partner here.
Thank you very much for inviting and appreciation. We certainly feel blessed that we were able to help the children with Chromebooks for the online learning. I hope that it helped many families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Come visit us. Thank you.
Right.
I'm coming.
Okay,
I'm
good.
bringing guests too.
Yes, we invite the whole board. We
Right,
actually
yes.
invite the whole board. We'll give you a tour.
We would love
Fantastic.
to have you there. Maybe have your physical exams at our health fair.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Thank
nice
you.
evening.
All right, moving on to special education programs.
Yeah, here to provide our special education report is our Director of Special Education, Mrs. Lori Smock, and Dr. Cantu, our Chief Academic Officer.
Good evening, Board President, board members, Dr. Miramontes, and our audience. Inclusivity and high academic expectations. If you were to ask our special ed staff what are their goals, those would be the top two, along with students feeling as if they too can reach and soar through their passions. We'd like to acknowledge the extreme hard work of our teachers, support staff, and site leaders for all they do on behalf of our students enrolled in our special education programs. Director Smock will highlight the areas that our teachers are working the hardest in, our accomplishments, and our goals. Director Smock?
Good evening, and thank you so much for the opportunity to highlight the wonderful work of our wonderful special education team. Next slide, please. I'd like to start by recognizing that team of incredibly hard workers. This has been a year like none other, and they really have dug deep to bring their very best to the students of Buena Park, including our occupational therapist with the therapy assistant, 3 registered nurses, 8 health clerks, 8 psychologists, 9 speech and language pathologists, 8 resource teachers, 20 self-contained special day teachers, and 58 instructional assistants currently serving our students right now. And all of that is with the support of our administrative team, which is with Mrs. Burgess, Dr. Cheryl, the coordinator, and myself. So it's an exceptional team that is serving the current 603 special education students and assessing currently 46 students pending evaluation. Next slide, please. So I'd like to start by saying what is new in special education. And this may be a reminder, but the highlight, we undertook some very big changes to really do what's best for students in Buena Park. So we have consolidated our mild moderate programs to one site. So from Pendleton to Whitaker Elementary under the leadership of Miss Principal Williams. We have our Buena Park Learning Center kindergarten students that were relocated to the Whitaker staff, again with Principal Williamson, so that we have that program in a single location. To support that staff, we relocated Dr. Cheryl, the coordinator of special education, to localize that support exactly where it's needed, where we have those programs. Our Emory Montsevere program was relocated to Pendleton with Principal Leota, and they gave those students the opportunity to matriculate with their general education peers as they went through their grade levels. Our 6th grade mild to moderate students are in the process of relocating to Beatty Middle School so they also can matriculate with their peers. And the Buena Park Beatty Middle School, moderate to severe program has also transitioned back to Buena Park to allow them that same opportunity. This has been a great chance to not only facilitate collaboration with their general education teaching partners to lower grade level spans in classes, but it enabled our department to focus the support that is available to both students and staff at all of those sites by unifying those programs. Next slide, please. We have a wonderful psychology staff, which is really at the heart of the work that we do. Currently, 5 of our 8 are new to our district, so within the last 6 months. So we have started by giving them a large charge to be in support of our district-wide programs as well. So you'll see that each of them has been assigned to support one of our district initiatives to make sure that we're supporting not only special education students, but general education students as they are doing their best here at Buena Park. Next slide, please. One of the things that we've really focused on is communication. So when we undertake a program relocation like we did, you can see that we have 4 programs that relocated to different locations. It started with communication to parents. So that started in May. We opened up our question and answer session for staff and for parents to answer all of their individual questions. And it was a great opportunity to learn from their questions and their concerns. And that was able to help us plan in the summer and for the following year for the supports that would be needed. And it led to some of the initiatives that we put in place. One of those was an orientation day. We had a day set aside just for them to visit their schools, visit their new classrooms, meet their teachers, and do a fun activity. But it also gave those parents a chance to see those new sites and acclimate their students to those sites. So I thank our teachers for putting in that hard work to make that available. Next slide, please. One of the things our parents shared is it's a lot of change, new schools, new teachers. So we put together a presentation for our school sites and our families, and these were given to teachers so they could put their faces in these slides to say, this is my new speech teacher, this is my new teacher in my classroom, my occupational therapist. And we actually created a video of the school site with the classrooms so they could have virtual tours as many times as they like. And these were sent out to the families in advance so they could gear up and get excited during the summer for what was waiting for them in the following school year. Next slide. So the special education department has really put a large emphasis on training and preparing our staff for what is to come in this unique year. So you're going to see we've undertaken in the first 30 days of school quite a great deal of that training. It started with our health clerks being certified for CPR, AED, and first aid. We've undertaken the training of principals and psychologists before the school year started with crisis prevention and intervention. And to explain, that is a program that helps to manage difficult situations and disruptive behaviors. Staff learned how to identify those at-risk individuals and use nonverbal and verbal techniques to de-escalate student behavior before it becomes a crisis. We're in the process right now of training all of our kindergarten instructional assistants and special education instructional assistants, which will be followed by our counselors and then all of our special education teaching staff. So you'll see 87 is the number we are working to complete right now. New is a key word in our department. Our nurses are a brand new staff. They've not been within this capacity for very long. So we have 3 nurses and we have 8 health clerks. Many of them are also very new. So we've sent them all to school nurse and health clerk training so they could feel prepared for their new positions. 189, our registered nurses went to each school site and to the entire transportation staff to make sure they would be prepared to handle things like seizures or allergy reactions and the use of an EpiPen. So we start each year making sure everybody is prepared if they were to face a student that might have that kind of crisis and need support. Our department did something really unique this year is we spearheaded COVID testing within the district. So the 8 health clerks, myself, and the registered nurses, and now our new support staff have been trained in-house and through the California Department of Public Health to administer both antigen and PCR testing for the district. And that helps us take advantage of that modified quarantine and keep both students and staff here on campus. And something new this year, we hire a lot of support staff. And what we were hearing from the staff themselves was they really liked the position, but they didn't feel like they had the tools to be successful, that maybe they shouldn't return. That wasn't the place for them. And we did not want them to feel that way. So all of our new IAs now will experience a minimum of a 2-hour orientation or training. And we were able to enhance that with their feedback to actually do some site visits and some classroom visits. And it was really fruitful in that they got to see the students and see how the classes run. And we were able to match their strengths and their preferences to see that they were a great match for the sites that we were placing them at so that we could help to make them lasting partnerships rather than really quick and give them the tools that they needed. Next slide, please. In the special education department specifically, we have begun again an emphasis on facilitated and collaborative IEP processes. This is some work that we've been doing for the last few years, but it is the collaborative and facilitated IEPs that really help us make excellent partnerships with our parents And we want to make sure that we are solving any issues that might arise before they turn into something that needs to go further or outside the district. So they really are best practices for IEP. So we're excited to continue that work through a SELPA grant. We have 47 special education teachers who have gone through some of our regular Medi-Cal training and our special education software. But we were really pleased to incorporate the Informed K-12 program, which really helped to facilitate some of our paperwork. And that took a lot of workload off of our teachers, which was really beneficial at this time. So they were very excited to be a part of that. And last is our Gold Book training. And that program looks specifically at students' strengths and students' areas of need. And it helps us to match them specifically to evidence-based practices and the data collection process that helps us make really informed decisions for students to make sure they're doing their best. So again, it is another tool that supports our staff to make sure they are doing the best work that they can, but it also speaks to our state performance indicator review to make sure that we are continuing to close the debt gap for all students. Just last week, we had our special education staff meeting where 46 staff members really focus on least restrictive environment and inclusion. It is an important part of what we do. It's the foundation of special education that we maintain that least restrictive environment. But again, it also speaks to that state and federal review process where they're looking if we are maintaining that to the greatest degree possible. So the staff led by psychologists broke out into groups and worked on this specifically to make sure that we are focused on it our best. And last, we had 47 participate coming up here in processes and procedures, where Dr. Jean Martin is going to join the staff to look at some of the procedures that we have going on, to hear the legislation behind it, and look for any opportunities to make some changes that might support what's going on in our district right now. Next slide, please. There has been, I think, more than ever, a lot of movement in special education. In the first 28 days of school, we have had 39 requests for new evaluations. That is a really high number. You can see they're broken down there by school site. So those are parents that are concerned about possible identification for new special education. The bulk of those are at Buena Park Learning Center. So those are students nearing their third birthday or right past their first birthday where parents are having those concerns. But you'll also see a high number of those at Emory and Gilbert Elementary School. Right next to that, you'll see something called 30-day interim placements. We've had 37 of those, and those 37 are students who have moved into our district with active IEPs. So when they come into our district, we must place them with a comparable program, and then that's our opportunity to evaluate that's a good match. But that is 30 new students to our district in special education. I'm sorry, 37. Next slide, please. Being that this has been such an interesting year, our department has really focused on how we're able to support our staff as they deal with students in classrooms. So one of the things we're looking at is how they engage and motivate students who haven't been in school in such a long time. So we started the year by presenting them with some support materials that might help them do just that. It supports formative assessment, engaged instruction, and we also have adaptive masks that allow students to see their faces as they speak. So we provided those to all staff, classified and certificated. Classroom management or behavior in the classroom has definitely been a topic of conversation. Students have been at home for about 15 months, maybe longer, and the rules at home are just different than they are in the classroom. So we have had an all hands on deck for their first 2 weeks. Our psychology staff, our speech and language staff, Dr. Cheryl and I have been out on sites, and we dragged Dr. Cantu as well to support in classrooms to make sure students were getting into classrooms, were participating. And we did provide some of these classroom dividers, if you will, to help those teachers make some quiet learning spaces so kids could do that good work. And last, we've taken a look at our process. The processes in Buena Park Special Education Department have been in place for a long time. They have been approved through any hearings that we may have had, through California Department of Education, through our program reviews, but it doesn't mean there's not an opportunity to improve them or make them better. So what we've done is we've listened to staff and we've implemented some of those changes. One of those is our 30-day interim process, and we moved that to the staff from the district office to give them increased input on that process. We've also changed some of the case management work to make sure that we're making the best use of time and we're not making any extra work for staff. Next slide, please. Something that has been a unique challenge for special education is independent study and the AAL program. SB 98 made distance learning mandatory last year, and it is not mandatory this year, but access to some sort of independent study is, and it is a unique challenge in special education. The federal government mandates FAPE, or free and appropriate education, wherein we have to ensure students are making progress, meaningful progress. And not all students are able to do that in an independent study program or a virtual program. So what you see there are a number of different letters that were drafted together with our law firm, Atkinson Andelson, so that we can make sure we're communicating to parents what is going to be the best path for their students as we support them in the choices that they make. And what you see up there on that table is last year during distance learning, we had 15 students request the AAL program. This year we've had 18, so it is a similar number. Last year we had 11 students attending that program. This year, currently we have 6. What has increased is the request for home instruction. As students are now required to return to school, we do have some students with unique medical needs that really prohibits their participation. And so through working with the IEP teams and their medical teams, we will be providing instruction for them in the home to make sure that they stay safe during this environment. Next slide, please. Why this may not be exciting for the fans, it is super exciting for me. This is a history of our due process filings with the Office of Administrative Hearing. And in some years, we've had quite a few issues or filings for due process. And this month marks a year and a month that we have not had a single one. So that is a very exciting time for us. There's been a lot of litigation around COVID, and our district has really demonstrated that our teachers have gone above and beyond to support students and meet families where they are the best way that we can in kind of navigating this new territory. So this is really a testament to the hard work that they are doing at the sites. Next slide, please. So what are the next steps for our department? We are continuing to take a look at disproportionality. We were identified as disproportionality, but we were so happy to hear that the California Department of Education has accepted our response, and they were pleased with the plan we've put in place. So it's time for implementation of that plan. Our special education plan was also accepted by the California Department of Education. So we continue that implementation work, which has already begun, to make sure that we are maintaining students in the least restrictive environment, and we are working on those achievement scores in both math and language arts. Continuing behavior support at school sites, both general education and special education, is a big focus for our department to make sure that we are not only supporting students where they are, but we're building capacity among staff so that we know that we are all becoming prepared to deal with whatever students present to us. And something new is we are also supporting the COVID-19 health and safety by being a part of that testing protocol for the district. Next steps. I'm sorry, next slide. So just a quick information about COVID testing. Currently, there are 4 of us as of this date that we're doing the testing. And I am happy to say within 19 days, we had tested 156 students, and I believe that is 6 staff members. But the real benefit of that is you can see that in minimum, conservatively, let's say, I need glasses, 740 days of school that those students would have been home had they not participated in the modified quarantine by using the COVID testing here on site, and 48 days that teachers would have to have been home with substitutes rather than be here at work, because we were able to do that. So moving forward, we know that that is really going to help support no additional learning loss, because kids will be on campus, staff will be here. It definitely keeps us out of that chronic absenteeism when students are able to stay at school. And when teachers are teaching, it impacts instruction and the quality of instruction. So we're really happy to be able to move forward with that process. And we know that moving forward in October, when that becomes mandatory, that we'll be able to address it and keep teachers on campus, which is an exciting role to play. And next slide with that, that is it. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
I do have a comment. Just, I know that across the state, one of the trends that we're seeing is you're seeing more and more students being identified for special education. Although your enrollment's declining, the number of students being identified is increasing across the county and the state. And, you know, I want to give Dr. Cantu and Mrs. Smock and Mr. Sherrill some credit. Working in special education is very difficult. It's not an easy task. I had a brother who did it for 11 years, he did mod severe, and he was burnt out. We've got to take care of our teachers, right? So Dr. Cantu leads the Special Education Advisory Council, and the goal there is to provide greater transparency, to bring some inclusiveness, and just an opportunity for our staff to be heard and to work collaboratively together. It was new, we started it last year. A little difficult, you know, doing it on Zoom, but our plan is to have them in person, working side by side, so that we can provide a better product for our students overall. The students, again, Mrs. Smock has alluded to 15 months out of school, being out of school. Not only that, but we just met with BPTA in Executive Council, and they were talking about just the difference between being in person. You know, when you're on a screen, it's easy to mute everybody. You can't mute every kid when you're there in person now, right? And then just building that stamina, because, you know, in reality, everybody around the world that worked via Zoom took care of the topic. They stayed in pajamas. Now you've got to move. As a teacher, you've got to be able to move. So building that stamina and then giving, again, kids grace, because that's really what it's all about. Giving them the opportunity to learn the structures here at school and to move forward with those will be a challenge at the Special Education Advisory Council. And that really is the goal, is how do we strengthen that program for our special education students? So any questions for Dr. Cantu or Mrs. Smock?
I want to thank staff, obviously, you know, with COVID, I'm sure everything is just 10 times harder, but I also want to take a moment to thank the families and the students, because these students have had to go through some things that are just, I don't think anyone ever thought they would have to, and now have to deal with going back to school after 15 months of being home. And there's COVID, and they need to kind of realize the dangers of that. So I think they're doing a great job, and I hope that we keep giving them whatever they need, the resources they need, if we need to, you know, change anything for them, so that it's not like our general ed, you know, students, and do those accommodations for them, that we continue to do that. My just comment about the COVID testing, I'm really excited that we're finally doing testing, but I'm just seeing a need for, and I talked to Dr. Maramontes about that. I know that we're only testing kids like that are in school that might have been, you know, around someone that tested positive, but I feel like we also need to tell people or get our voice out there, just, you know, parents that are keeping their kids home just in case. I think that's where we're losing a lot of our ADA, because it happened to me, it happened to everyone I know. It's like, oh my gosh, they have a runny nose. So they keep them home, but they still have to look for a place to get these kids tested. And I know there's a lot of options to get free testing, but there's also, that's also just adds another burden. So if we were able to test them at our schools, or, you know, just have a site where, you know, it doesn't have to be at every school, just maybe a site where, and I don't know if that's even possible.
Well, we're working with the Orange County Healthcare Agency for my angle, because I did ask Dr. Maharos about that, you know, and then I did ask the task force as well last week to look into that as well, because there's different avenues, right?
Yeah.
So I know that Dr. Simonovsky meets with the public information officers as well on a weekly basis. So those are questions that we're going to pose out there. Right now, we aren't allowed to use testing kits for kids that may have, they'd have to come to school, and then
I
parents will
know.
have to tell us.
Yeah,
right?
so they just need
that's-
to understand that that's a need that's right now
Right.
out there, and hopefully we can, you know, reduce the amount of time that these kids are out for just a runny nose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd like to add also, I was so happy to see all the training and support for our staff at all levels. And I know this will contribute to our students' successful outcomes. So that was good to see. Thank you for sharing that.
Everybody's doing a good job with our special ed. I know it's hard for some parents to understand that they can't do the, uh, learning from home. They have to be in school to be, to help out their students. So I'd just like to see additional resources provided to those families that they want their students still to be, learning from home, but they can't. I want to see them be provided with additional resources so they can be comfortable as their students are coming into school and going through.
Thank you. Yeah, here to provide the Buena Park School District Annual English Learners Report update or report is Mrs. Centeno, the Director of Curriculum Instruction, and Dr. Yvette Cantu, the Chief Academic Officer.
How do we view our English language learners? Our English learners arrive in our classrooms carrying with them a wealth of knowledge, talents, and strengths. Approaching differentiation from this perspective reframes our goals and our responsibilities for making sure our English language learners learn English at a proficiency rate that allows them equal access to content, information, and growth in their academics. Although we are mandated by the federal government to have a rich program that allows our students to do just that, access core curriculum, we do so because it truly is the heart of our program to make sure that we have one where all students have access and are encouraged to the highest degree of a rigorous curriculum. Our Director of Curriculum Instruction will explain to you our mandates by the federal government and by the state that we not only abide by, but we welcome well, because we want all of our students, including our English language learners at whatever proficiency they enter in our district, to do well academically, social emotionally, and have a sense that they have a sense of belonging in all of our schools. As we look at our programs, we'll highlight how we identify our students, how our students are growing academically, and how our program is meeting the needs of our students. Director Centennial.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cantu. I feel like we have our very own poet laureate here in our district. You're so eloquent. Good evening, Board President Chong, members of the governing board, Superintendent Dr. Miramontes, members of Executive Cabinet, and guests. I'm excited to be here, as Dr. Cantu shared, to provide you with an overview of our district programs for English language learners who do indeed come with a very rich background, and it really is a value added to their learning. Next slide, please. Oh, you're already there. So let's begin with a definition so that we all have some context as to what really makes a student an English language learner. So English learners are students for whom there is a report of a primary language other than English on the state-approved home language survey, and who, on the basis of the state-approved language assessment, the LPAC, have been determined to need additional English language skill development in the areas of listening, speaking, reading, and writing in order to be able to access the content of our core curriculum. I do want to note that there are 4 questions on the home language survey. The first is, which language did your child learn when they first began to talk? The second, which language does your child most frequently speak at home? Third, which language do parents or guardians most frequently use when speaking with your child? And the fourth, which language is most often spoken at home by adults? If there is a response other than English on the first 3 questions, that triggers LPAC assessment. Next slide, please. So the timeline here provides additional context as to how our state has really focused on our English language learners. So I'm not going to read through all of the points here, but just a few highlights. In 2014, we did have our State Board of Education adopt ELA, ELD, English Language Development Frameworks. Moving down to 2021, our current year, we do have an alternate, that should say initial, LPAC pilot. And this is for students with the most significant cognitive disabilities. It is being piloted this year, and once it's fully implemented, it will replace all locally determined alternate assessments. We currently use the ALPI, and it will provide a consistent, standardized measurement of English language proficiency across the state. Next slide, please. So now we're going to look a little closer at our district demographics for English learners. On the left side, you'll see district enrollment by ethnicity, and you can see that the largest group is our Hispanic or Latino population at about 67%, followed by 33% white students and about 19% Asian students. And then we have a sprinkling of some other ethnicities. Our district English learner profile, you can see that of our approximately 4,000 students, we have about 35% that are English language learners, 13% are reclassified fully English proficient, and the largest percentages of languages represented here in our district are shown: Spanish, Korean, and Tagalog. This is based on most current data from September of this year from our ARIES database. Next slide, please. And so now we're going to take a look at the historical English learner data here in our district. It goes all the way back to 2013, 2014. And what you'll see here are the total number of English learners as well as the percentages across the district. So from 2013 through 2020, this information or this data comes from the state's website, CDE's website. And this is from DataQuest. And then this year's numbers, 21-22, comes directly from ARIES. You will note a similar trend. Just as our district enrollment is declining, you will also see a decrease in the number of English language learners. Next slide, please. Here you can take a look, an even closer look at the site demographics. So across all of our school sites here in the district. And again, this data was pulled from ARIES, so it is the most current data that we have. Our schools with the highest numbers of English language learners would be Buena Park Middle School, followed by Gilbert Elementary, and then Whitaker, Emory. Next slide. So I mentioned at the start that our students who have home language surveys that trigger language testing do take the English language proficiency assessments for California, also known as the LPAC. So there are initial and summative assessments on the LPAC that are given to our TK through 8th grade students. The initial LPAC assessment is given July 1 through the end of the year, June 30th. The bulk of which happens at the beginning of the year because that's when we get the greatest number of students who are enrolling for the first time in a California public school, TK kinders. But new students come to us throughout the year, so that window remains open. It's also important to note that the initial LPAC needs to be given within 30 days of enrollment. So this year we had about 164 students who started school August 17th. That we had to give the initial LPAC to, and we were able to give the assessment to about 161 students, so all but 3. And that was due to the hard work of our BSPs, getting out time and time again. If kids were absent, they'd go back, follow up, let's get this child tested. So kudos to our BSPs and also to our coordinator of assessment, Natalie Benda. The summative LPAC is given once a year to English language learners, and that window opens February 1st through May 31st. This last year, the window was extended through July 30th by the state because they recognize the challenges in assessing students during COVID. Next slide, please. And so now let's take a closer look at the LPAC. So there are overall scores given for oral and written language. There are 4 proficiency levels, 1 through 4, the highest being a level 4, well-developed. And there are 4 domains that are also assessed: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. We are currently awaiting the release of the 2021 summative LPAC assessment results. And as soon as we get those, I will be sure that we share that. Next slide. The LPAC is a very critical piece in reclassifying our students. So reclassification is the process where a student is reclassified from English learner status to fluent English proficient, or RFEP. In our district, we look at students who are possibly ready for reclassification each December. And so what you'll see here on this slide, on the left-hand side, you'll see the required criteria. This is required by Ed Code. We need to look at English language proficiency, teacher evaluation, parent opinion and consultation, as well as a comparison of the student's skills in basic skills, language arts, and math. On the right-hand side, you'll see how we specifically in our district determine that a student has met the 4 criteria listed through EdCo. So it's important to note that on the LPAC, a student does have to have a score of 4 in order to be considered for reclassification. We go forth with teacher recommendation, parent consultation, which is a key part of this process. And of course, we also take a look at a various number of data points to ensure that a student is performing well academically. It's also important to note that if a student is reclassified, that we monitor their progress academically for 4 consecutive years to ensure that they are maintaining academic progress. Next slide, please. So now you can see our historical data with reclassification rates back to 2013. So the numbers have fluctuated anywhere from the 200s into the 300s. And you will see that 2019, 2020, the number that you see here, 332, these were reclassified numbers based on students who took the summative LPAC in spring of 2019, which was the last traditional administration of the LPAC. In 2021, we had 231 students who were able to meet that reclassification criteria, which was very promising considering the challenges that our students went through with COVID and having to take that summative LPAC. We will be going through the process of reclassification in December, so stay tuned for those numbers. I do want to highlight on the next slide how our students performed academically. Again, our students have not taken a traditional administration of the SBAC assessment since spring of 2019. So the data that you see here is a bit dated, but it does give you a perspective of how our English learners are performing as comparison to the district and their English-only speaking peers. I would like to highlight that our RFEP students, so that third set of data, tend to perform very, very well on our standardized assessments. This last spring, we were able to give an alternate local assessment, and we used iReady for ours, as many districts across the states did. I'll be putting in the numbers in this week's Friday report to show you how our students, our English learners, did as compared to the rest of the students in our district. We did quite well. Next slide, please. Here you'll see similar data for our English learners. Again, this is SBAC data from spring 2019, and this is in the area of math. So This Friday, you will see how our English learners did on the alternate assessment given this spring, iReady, and you will have those percentages for 3rd through 8th grade. So we'll compare it as closely as we can to the SBAC, although they're different tests. So please keep that in mind. Next slide. So English language proficiency, or LPAC, for our students continues. I mentioned at the start that the home language survey with those 4 questions, if a parent answers anything other than English on the first 3 questions on the home language survey, then that triggers testing. That home language survey is part of the enrollment process, and that originates at the school site. The other notifications that you see here are actually distributed or originate from the district level. All of these are current, and I'm proud to say that they meet legal compliance as per our recent FPM review. Not an easy task. Our reviewer was, as my colleague, Ms. Wong, can attest to, was very, very stringent. Mr. Magbu, can you click on the link? I'll be sure to put these links in the Friday report as well, so that you can see the notification that goes to parents when their child will be taking the initial LPAC assessment. Also, you'll see the Title I, Title III notification that goes out to parents annually, indicating that their child is an English language learner. And you will also see reclassification forms and the progress monitoring. So I'll be sure those are in the Friday report. Next slide, please. I'm really bummed about that. Thought I was getting pretty good with the tech. All right, so earlier I talked about the state making our English learners a priority, but here what you'll see is that our district has also made our English language learners a priority. So this gives you kind of at a glance what our district has done over the last few years to really focus in on the teaching and learning for our English language learners. We have had a broad range of activities for our staff and our parents. Next slide. And this again continues that look as to what we've done as a district to really highlight the work that we do in service of our English language learners. Last year, one exciting thing was that we were able to offer professional learning for our staff with Dr. Flores from USC. That was not done intentionally, Dr. Miramontes. And that work was carried out with the rest of the teachers at the school site, and we will continue to do that work this year as well. Moving on to this year, so that very bottom row, you'll see again that the coaching and training on designated ELD and integrated ELD with Dr. Flores will continue across our sites. We've also built daily designated ELD into our schedule, so our students receive 30 minutes minimum every day. And we have definitely strengthened our ELD program through our recent FPM review. There were 15 possible areas for findings. Excuse me, I think I need to build up. So there were 15 possible areas for findings, and of those 15, we only had 12. So very proud of that. Next steps. Next slide. Thank you. So our schools will continue to define, implement, and monitor their English learner programs. I think that said earlier that in special education, they have done so much and there has been so much growth, but there is room to grow. I can say the same for our English learner programs. We will definitely be using the LCAP parent and staff survey results to identify needs for next steps, as well as our English learner parent survey. Next slide. And that brings us to the end. Any questions?
Oh, question, I just have more of a comment. I was able to participate in your DLAG meeting that Claudia put together, and I just want to say.
Thank you for
It was
being
a
here.
great meeting. I was able to learn a lot based on because I was able to understand, and I have no shame in saying, I was that one student that had ELD, so as I'm growing up, I'm still learning proficiency in English, because that's, and it helped me understand what I went through during that time. So I appreciate the work that you guys are putting in, and I've done well so far, but it's you guys are doing great in communicating that with our parents. So thank you.
I was too, actually, but
Thank
used to
you so
call it
much.
ESL, I believe, at that time. That's what I had.
Yes, yes. I too experienced that when I was younger. So I think one of the important things is that now we really do see that multiple languages, knowledge of multiple languages is such a positive, enriching thing for a child to have, right? It connects you to your family, to your culture. It helps you to be able to connect with more people. So I think it really is seen in a very positive light, and definitely we want to continue that. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and attention. And tonight seems to be the evening for recognition and reward. So I have a little something for you. As the evidence. But this is an alpaca. In our department, we have renamed it as an alpaca. So each of you, so that you remember the work around English learners, gets an alpaca today.
Love that idea.
And we will make sure
That's so cute.
that our other board members
Thank you. Gifts are always welcome. Gifts are always to the heart.
You mean chocolate? I think you mean chocolate, yeah.
Yeah, you know, best presentation ever.
We got that on tape, right?
It's a team approach. right?
The
That's for everybody.
alpaca, right? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to action calendar. In a district transfer request 2020-21-22 GMA 7. It's recommended the governing board uphold the denial. Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Frutos. Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Consent calendar, unless a trustee has a question concerning a particular item and asks that it be withdrawn from the consent calendar, the items are approved at one time by the governing board. Ms. Shed?
No, I have nothing to remove.
Ms. Ahmad?
I have nothing.
Mr. Frutos? I don't either. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. Do you have a second? Thank you, Ms. Shed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Information and correspondence, major topics. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, I'm excited about October 11th. On October 11th, we actually have the California Dashboard Local Performance Indicator Report. Something that's required of us to do. We'll be using our local indicators, and Mrs. Centeno, our Director of Curriculum Instruction, I'm assuming Mrs. Benda and Dr. Cantu will provide a report for us. And then we've got the facilities and modernization update as well.
I don't know how she's gonna up the alpaca. presentation.
One,
What's com-
one,
what's coming
one other,
next?
one other piece of information I'd like to share with the board also is the Department of Justice grant was extended for an additional year. So our partnership with the Buena Police Department and the school resource officers, the funding there has been extended for one additional year. So that's good news. It's money coming back to support our SRO officers, actually support our school sites with the SRO officers and the efforts to minimize the vaping and other pieces that go along with that grant. So that was news that was given to us on Friday evening, after the Friday report, that is.
Thank you. That being said, we are striking closed session. We're gonna go to adjournment. Have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Black. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.